It happened on the mysterious Isle of Seacliffe, by Ian Gordon. 10. The Silhouettes. December 30th, 10 a.m. Just as expected, I slept terribly last night. The skin behind my ears is red raw. I tried everything to soothe it: warm water, cold water, moisturizer, the petroleum jelly I found in the bathroom. Nothing helped in the least. Even now I'm forcing myself to resist the temptation to scratch. I'm going to end up drawing blood at this rate. As a result of my poor rest, I found myself mildly irritated when Miss Black delivered breakfast just after 7. I'm grateful for her generosity, but I just that minute managed to drop off after a night of tossing and turning. I enjoyed the meal, but I couldn't quite finish it. The coffee did nothing to stimulate me either. The critters were at it again, too. I could hear them scuttling, perpetually scuttling. Could hear their weird vocalizations coming and going. Or are those sounds the chewing and chomping noises of 1,000 mouths full of tiny, razor-sharp teeth? They've certainly got a taste for that seaweed, foul stuff that it is. I'm babbling. Got to snap out of it. December 30th, 11:15 a.m. A cold shower has revitalized my senses somewhat. I feel more like myself again. Well, the man I was before my discovery on Silver Street, that is. I spent half the night studying that damned photograph. Right now those 4 faces are gawping at me, willing me to remember. But aside from the still images drawn from 100 terrible dreams, the dark seafront, the sloping stone, the myriad faces, nothing whatsoever enters my mind when I gaze upon that time-worn picture. There, I've thrown a hand towel over it. I'm sick to death of looking at it. December 30th, 11:25 a.m. Yet again, a crowd has gathered on the square outside. Something up in the hills to the north appears to be attracting attention. Can't make anything out from here. Better head out. Should probably take this journal with me. December 30th, 12:15 p.m. I'm up in West Town, as the locals call it, sitting in an establishment by the name of Shanna's Cafe. It's a small place, with room for just 5 tables. From where I'm seated at the bay window, I have a clear view of Watcher's Peak, the summit to which I climbed on my arrival a few days ago. I'm not alone here at Shanna's place. I'm accompanied by a small group of individuals I followed from the square, in order to get a better view of the subjects atop the hill. But I'll get to that in a minute. Shanna, the proprietor of this humble establishment, is quite possibly the warmest member of the community I've encountered thus far. She has a quiet but joyful nature. The act of preparing drinks seems an absolute pleasure for her. The other individuals here at the cafe are Mr. Christensen, a chap of Danish descent who doesn't have a lot to say, Mr. Patterson, a black-haired fellow with a rough complexion, Mrs. Strickland, a widowed senior with a predilection for green tea, and young Dean Charlwood, a lanky teenager with a blonde moustache, a handsome chap altogether. We form an odd group, the 5 of us, 6 including our host, but our oddness pales compared with the strangeness of what my fellow punters describe as the silhouettes. High above Shanna's Cafe, beyond the spires, the terracotta slates, and the terraced cul-de-sacs of the town's northern quarter, the silhouettes are stood atop Watcher's Peak. These ghostly figures, according to Mrs. Strickland, are the 7 sisters' counterparts, hailing from a hamlet in the northwest by the name of Mountsey. They're a cloistered group, says Mr. Patterson, and are rarely seen outside of their village. Dean Charlwood, the mustachioed teenager, and Mr. Christensen have little to say on the subject. The 2 of them are simply excited spectators. I'll do my best to describe them from what I can make out down here. Like the 7 sisters, They number 6, and stand unusually tall and proud. They're wearing long gowns that are billowing quite forcefully in the gale up there. The tallest of their number, a character with long, luminous white hair, is standing at the front of the group. He's bowing now, as are his companions. They're raising their hands in the air, making some sort of sign. According to Mrs. Strickland, the sign, hands clasped together above their heads, suggests that they're about to utter the familiar phrase, 211, the 2 words comprising the phrase having been spelled out to me by Mr. Patterson. I've been informed that the phrase is, in fact, a name, the name of the sleeping king. To speak his name is no trivial matter, says Mrs. Strickland. To say it aloud is not only to address the sleeping king, but also to proclaim one's willingness to serve him. The silhouettes are retreating now. My new friends have risen to their feet. They're repeating the sign the leader of the figures made atop Watcher's Peak. They're bowing. Out of respect, I'm putting my pen down for a moment. How surreal, to be gathered in such an ordinary place, a cafe of all places, observing the comings and goings of mysterious disciples as they prepare for the return of an ancient, alien king. I'm almost convinced. Shanna tells me that the silhouettes only ever appear on the eve of 211's arrival. Tomorrow, she says, with the advent of the full moon, 211 will rise from the deeps. I ask, and you really believe that? To which she says, it isn't a question of belief, Mr. Howarth. The return of the sleeping king is as regular as the orbit of the earth around the sun. But you already know that, don't you? And she's right. Somehow I do. Sitting here, staring into space, I cannot help but ponder once again the origin of this strange deity. The notion that life has indeed evolved elsewhere in our very own solar system. Life that formed beneath the icy surface of a distant moon, in waters unfathomably deep and unimaginably alien. What might such a creature look like? Can the crude interpretation seen throughout Redditch truly capture the likeness of such a thing? I suppose the answers to my questions are on the horizon. I think it's time for another drink. Better make it an Irish coffee. Thanks for listening today, folks. Join us again tomorrow for the next part.